Short king. Typically, people will use this phrase when they're talking about likable, confident, or successful men who are below average height. In the history of bodybuilding, there have been many of these short kings. Franco Colombo, Danny Padilla, Mohamed Makaway, and Momo Benaziza, just to name a few. Now, although the term short king is a relatively new mainstream term in the bodybuilding world, these men were called giant killers because of how frequently they were able to defeat taller competitors. After the anabolic race of the 1990s, taller competitors weren't only matching shorter ones on full list more frequently, but bringing something that shorter competitors didn't: freak factor. There was just something about looking at someone who is not only extremely muscular, but also tall, that's incredibly mesmerizing. This disparity became so great that the 202 and then the 212 division were eventually introduced. This allowed competitors who weren't able or willing to compete in the open a division that could allow them to optimize their talents as bodybuilders, which favored, you guessed it, shorter competitors. Now, among some of these 212 guys, there have been a few over the years who've moved to the open division and held their own against the big boys. Some notable instances are William Bonac taking second at the 2019 Olympia, Sean Clarita winning the 2021 Legion Sports Fest, and most recently, Hadi Choopan winning the Mr. Olympia as a 212 descendant. So it made me wonder, considering the fact that Hadi Choopan is 5'6", when was the last time we had an Olympia champion as short as him? If you already know the answer to this question, pause this video right now and type the answer in the comment section, and stick around to the end of the video to figure out if you're right or not. Now, let's go backwards. As I previously mentioned, our current Olympian champion, Hadi Choopan, stands 5'6". Big Ramy is 5'9", Brandon Curry is 5'8", Sean Roden is 5'10", and both Phil Heath and Jay Cutler both stand 5'9". But it's not until we get to 2008 Olympia champion Dexter Jackson that we can find the last Olympia champ that stood 5'6", which means that Hadi Choopan is the shortest Mr. Olympia in 14 years. But for the sake of this analysis, let's go back and try to find the shortest Mr. Olympia since Dexter. Ronnie Coleman stands at an imposing 5'11", Dorian Yates stands 5'10", and Lee Haney is also 5'11". Samir Benu is 5'7", Chris Dickerson was 5'6", in 1981 Mr. Olympia, Franco Colombo was 5'5". And Franco is the shortest champion ever, which means that Hadi Choopan is in fact among the shortest Olympia champions of all time. Now, although he doesn't get the record as the shortest Mr. Olympia of all time, did become the first Mr. Olympia from Iran. But wait, I didn't forget about Derek Lunsford though. Derek is yet another short king standing 5'6", who is also a 212 descendant. Now, I had Derek as my top dark horse in my Olympia preview video, and although I did believe he'd place top 5, I didn't expect him to place as high as second. Mainly because we had no idea how Derek would stack up against those other open guys. We hadn't really seen him compared with them unless you count the Pittsburgh Pro guest posing, which in retrospect was a foreshadowing of things to come. But Derek's second place placing, which in my opinion was deserved, did put him in the bodybuilding history book. Derek became the first open bodybuilder to place second in his Olympia debut in 30 years since Flex Wheeler did it in 1993, someone who's highly regarded as one of the best bodybuilders to ever do it. And just to put into perspective how impressive that is, out of the thousands of bodybuilders who graced the Olympia stage, here's the list of competitors who placed top 5 in their Olympia debuts since 1980. But this wasn't all that Derek did. Derek also became the first champion in the IFBB to switch divisions and place top 3 at their first Olympia in another division. And if Derek nails it at some point within the next few years, he has a legitimate shot at becoming the first dual champion in bodybuilding history. Bodybuilding's first champ, if you will. But Derek and Hadi aside, I can't forget about Nick Walker, a short king who improved on his Olympia placing by 2 placings from last year. Nick looked phenomenal, and if you go back and look at his Pittsburgh Pro guest appearance, and you look closely, it doesn't appear that he lost that much muscle. But size aside, Nick did bring his signature conditioning. And if he continues on this trajectory, he'll just keep inching closer and closer to a Sandow. But Derek, Nick, and Hadi aside, Brandon Curry being 5'8" may or may not be considered a short king depending on what your definition is, which means that our top 4 in the world could be classified as short kings, a trend which may continue, that is, until Andrew Jack reaches his final form, which in that case, they're all
saw Andrew come out. I've never seen Andrew in person.
Bruh, this mother backstage is a whole different. Have you seen him up close, like backstage?